The conversation you're about to watch is a conversation between myself and Versan Al-Jarrah. Versan and his brother's not in this conversation, make up Black Swan Capitalists. On their channel, they discuss macro perspective and analysis on the world economy, central banks, and the underlying narratives that will eventually shape this new system that we move into. It's a fascinating conversation, and I'm pretty sure by the end of the conversation, you might just realize how big this transition of wealth is going to be. Enjoy the video.
The thing about the content you're about to deliver, you don't need to introduce yourself because the knowledge just speaks for itself. You know what I mean? But if you do want to introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are if they haven't heard of you, please do.
Sure thing. First of all, I want to apologize that my brother's not here with me. He would love to be here. He's just, taking care of some other things. And I can promise you next time we do this, I'll have him here. But yeah, my name is Versan Al-Jarrah. I grew up overseas, born and raised in Saudi Arabia, lived in Dubai for quite a while. I'm actually an engineer. And it was really, around the pandemic when I kind of delved deep into finance. We had so much downtime when the pandemic started. And, a lot of people kind of either went and got locked on their Netflix account. And then there were those people that kind of started doing research and whatnot. So that's kind of like where my journey started. But the story I do want to share, I don't know if I told you this before, but in 2018, we had an emergency family meeting and our father contacted us, told everyone in the family, you must attend. And what we did is a FaceTime chat with Khalid Al Sunaid, and he's in Saudi Arabia, and he's a very close advisor to the royal family. Now, I grew up with his children in Saudi Arabia, and he's a very close friend to my stepfather. And yeah, they said this was so important. And, I didn't know anything about blockchain and crypto at the time. And I wasn't really into finance in 2018. It really was 2020 when I started learning about this stuff. And they had this message where they were trying to tell us that there's this technology we need to look at, and it was called Ripple, right? And that's really where I learned about XRP. They said, and I quote in this part, that one day XRP would replace the entire financial institution and would be adopted globally, worldwide. And, we didn't know anything about this stuff. We started digging deep. And yeah, it was around really 2021 is when we really invested money into it. Anyways, that's like a little bit about my side of how I got involved into all this stuff.
One thing I've noticed about you as I've known you over the last couple of weeks, and we've talked consistently, I've been surprised how willing you've been to kind of chat with me, having not knowing me beforehand. But I really appreciate that because it also makes a conversation like this really easy because I feel like we've been talking already. And you have told me that story about that emergency family meeting before. My question is, how long do you think people have known that XRP is going to be the replacement? Because it had to be sparked into their mind at some point. And who knew about that from the initial stages, apart from the obvious people?
There's a lot of evidence that, first of all, the DLT patent design, the technology, I guess, was by David Schwartz. The design of the DLT, it's like they knew that at some point in time in history, we were going to need some technology like this. I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's not. This stuff was planned out a long time ago. And that's the crazy thing to wrap your head around. But really, I think after 2008, the financial crisis that took place, that's when, that's even when Bitcoin came out shortly after it was announced. And, this new technology that was going to replace banks and financial institutions and freedom and all that. And that's not the truth at all, by the way. But, around 2008, really. And there have been people who've known about this for a very long time. And it's just, they were kind of waiting for this pivotal moment, which we're seeing right now. And this is kind of where the Great Reset ties into everything. And I actually cannot talk about like Klaus and whatnot, but the Great Reset was when the pandemic started. It's like they hit the button right there and then. And that's kind of when all this started coming out, But Ripple's been doing a lot of things for a very long time, while Bitcoin has been the one on mainstream news and people talk about it all the time, and Ethereum. Ripple behind the scenes has been partnering with banks worldwide and regulators. You can't fight the banks at their own game. They put this thing together. They are not going to lose control to something like Bitcoin. And that's the truth. You really want to knock out Bitcoin? 10 days of darkness, man. That's it. Knock out the power grid for some time. All the servers go down. Done. Ripple, on the other hand, and this is very few people know this, and you can really dig deep into this, but Ripple runs without Wi-Fi, without internet. It can run without internet. And I've heard a lot of people say that this technology is beyond something we imagine. And it's true. It can run without internet.
I've seen people talking about that.
It's not a joke. Yeah. If the power goes out now, and guess what? All banks and systems are down, even Bitcoin. Who's going to save the day? Who's going to offer the liquidity? Who's going to have the technology to do something like that and help people out? It's going to have to be Ripple. And then again, behind the scenes, like I said, they've already partnered with all the banks, major financial institutions worldwide, hedge funds, and people are already using the technology. It's just the lawsuit is really kind of slowing this down. And it's just, I think what they're trying to do is keep pushing fear by the lawsuit and dragging it out. And you could read this in the comments. You could see it's working. There's too many people out there that don't understand this stuff. And they just think that, oh, they're being sued. That's a bad technology. They're in trouble, when really it's actually the solution to the financial crisis we haven't experienced yet. And it's coming very soon, by the way.
Do you think there is likely to be a 10-day outage in order to remove the likes of Bitcoin from the scheme of things? Or does Bitcoin have its place and you wouldn't need to do that 10-day outage?
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. And I can't really speculate on something like that, but I know for a fact that we've had lots of warnings from the WEF and some of the, big figures out there that Russian cyber attacks, and you can watch mainstream news today and you'll see this narrative is already being pushed. So, I really don't know, but it could be months even. If they really want to, and I think this is what they want to do. They want to, it could be. That's why I keep telling people, stock up. You got to always prepare for the worst case scenario, because I know for like the last 10, 15 years, people have been talking about conspiracy theories and world organizations using power moves and, to go ahead and knock out the middle class. And I'm telling you, this is now happening right before our eyes. And it's like, that's what I was saying earlier. And I also watched your interview with JB Coach, a great interview, by the way. We are in this transition of awakening, and a lot of people are not waking up. And this is the big problem right now, is that, people are not paying attention to what's happening. Now, power outage could easily happen, man. If you've ever been outside of the country, like if you've been to China or Dubai, I've been to China and Dubai. You could see that their infrastructure even, right? They're way ahead of us. The USA, man, we are so behind. And this is the financial center of the world, the USA right now. We still have the reserve currency. Anything could happen, and this is why I keep telling people be prepared, because based on what I know and who I've spoken to, and I actually talked to people at the Pentagon, I've spoken to a few people in Congress, and I'm telling you, something massive is going to happen, black swan event, and most people will be caught off guard when this goes down.
One of the things that resonated with me about what you said in a previous conversation, maybe it was a previous video of yours as well, where you said, make sure you're stocking up on precious metals, that the right assets that are going to be moving forward, food and water being the most precious asset.
I did say that.
Really profound, because it's kind of scary if water, the thing that we take so for granted right now, is to be the precious asset at that time. And that shows what a situation the world would be in if water was such high value. And I can see that type of thing happening when you've got kind of an outage of 10 days or a month or something. We saw signs of it when people were rushing to Walmart and Target just to get toilet roll, and the chaos that was ensuing in such a minor issue. And so now we're looking at a whole collapse of a whole system. I wonder how quickly it will turn into that, where those who have water are now the target kind of thing. It feels to me, I'll be completely honest, it feels like that can't be possible. Especially in the UK and the US, surely that cannot be possible. I can't fathom how they would let that happen. Can you speak how maybe that you see that actually happening and why it could?
I do. Yeah. It's because we are having massive shortages on goods and supplies and even services here, and we're not getting parts. There's a lot of geopolitical issues that we haven't discussed. And the geopolitics really falls in the center of all this. And like I said, the financial system is just a bit of it. Of course, it's very important because money revolves around everything. But the geopolitical issues we're actually seeing two factions, and with power structures right now where the power is shifting. And this is where I read Ray Dalio's book, great book, by the way, Changing Order. But it talks a lot about this stuff. And also what we're seeing in the world happen right now is that this shift of power is actually happening. And China is already cutting. I have two businesses. We buy a lot of stuff from China. They are raising prices on us. They are cutting our supplies on certain things. They are trying to strangle us. And see, the thing is, after World War II, we stopped producing and manufacturing things here in the US. So, when you start to look at how these things have played out through history and where we are today, yeah, it can happen. Just on things already happening like you wouldn't believe here in the States, you know? And then, of course, the governments are trying to control all the food here and the water and everything. And it's crazy. George Bush is no one knows about this, but he's been buying up all the fresh water in America here. Bill Gates has been buying all the farmland. This is really going on, you know? And it's been happening for a few years. You could read stories about it, but it's not going to be mainstream. You know, they don't cover this stuff. No, on mainstream, they'll talk about the vaccine and why you should get it and infecting other people. And, you know, it's like not covering the important topics. What you see on mainstream is all just BS, man. I mean, it's just to keep people distracted from what's really going on behind the scenes. And me, you dig deep into this stuff, man. I've been in the rabbit hole for too long, I think. And I really research every avenue. That way I can be protected for something like that. I have enough water for 2 years. I really do. And I think I've showed you pictures. I don't know. I'll go ahead and send them here after we're done. But yeah, man, I've been stocking up. My brother has too, my mother, my father, and they take my advice too. And they've seen this too, and they know things as well. You know, I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to play out very gradually, but I think when the power goes out and something like that, we have an outage and now they're putting the narrative that Russia is going to do a cyber attack on our financial grid or hit our satellites. All BS, man. It's all theatrics. What they're trying to do is fast track this new system and where people are dependent on the state for their money, for their food, for their water. I mean, and this is actually in the World Economic Forum's book plan. And it's public. And if you read the Great Narrative and the Great Reset by Klaus, you could see this stuff. It's in the book, you know, and they don't read anymore. They don't. They just go through headlines and they're like, oh, that's news. Oh, look, that's news. And it kind of makes their perception, but they're not reading the detail, and the devil is in the detail.
It absolutely is. I made a video today discussing, it was something minor compared to all of this, but whole Swift ISO 222 delay that came out recently. And the way I wanted to highlight in the video for everyone was everyone pays attention to the top of the screen. And as you go down the document or down the screen, there's less and less people reading that information. So if you were creating these publicly available documents, where would you put the information that really means something? You'd put it at the bottom where no one's looking.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're looking at those documents that you were talking about, the devil is in the detail, and the detail is in those areas where people are so bored, they stop reading before they get to that point. And I've been finding that with all the documents I've been reading, just the financial documents, they hide stuff where no one's looking.
Yeah.
And so actually you're already narrowing your audience who can know about it just by the placement of it in the document. I think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
One thing I want to go over with you is, when I look at this whole orchestrated thing that we have, you know, COVID, how that actually came into a lab, how it escaped a lab, all of these things, it doesn't just seem like a master plan, but it seems like a plan that has to have been put in place for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I say that is because you were on a gold standard. Well, the gold standard, there must have been people, financial people, the smart people in the world who knew the end result of converting away from the gold standard. The plan has to have formulated at that moment.
You're absolutely right.
It has to.
Right. You're absolutely right. I didn't want to go that far yet, but now that you brought it up, I'm happy to. This tile's been in works for a very long time, and I've confirmed this with people way up the food chain. This has been planned out before Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. The plan was to have complete control over the masses, and Rockefeller was actually involved heavily in this with the Rothschilds. And what they wanted to do was have an entire nation of workers, not thinkers. And that's actually a quote by Rockefeller himself. And he was heavily involved in the original Bretton Woods agreements with the Rothschilds. And they're the ones who actually forced Nixon to do this. And their idea was actually, and there's evidence for this stuff, it's too much details. But what happened was they initially said, let's take the dollar off the gold standard. That way we can continue to print money and have reckless behavior. And guess what they did with all that money? Because see, gold kept governments in check. That's what people don't understand. Gold reserve currency keeps governments in check on how much money they can print. And, when you took the gold off, guess what? That's it. The dollar became worthless right there and then. And they told everyone, give us your gold. We're going to give you this worthless paper. And I'm telling you, this is how they did it. And it's been going on and on. And guess what they've been doing? By printing all this money into thin air from the future into bringing it into the now, they have actually devalued the currency until where we are today, where inflation, people can't even make ends meet here, yet we're still sending $50 billion. I'm about to get real deep into this real quick. This is where the whole debt, the debt ceiling and the debt-based system, what we have right now, plays into this. So initially though, God, man, there's so much to talk about. I keep getting off track. I apologize. I love this stuff. Okay. So when they took the gold off the dollar, right, they were able to print as much money as they want. And with that money, guess what they did? They built the military industrial complex. And nobody talks about that. They are the most underground society out there, and they are not run by our military. The military industrial complex is actually run by a few people and called the 300 Committee. And people probably haven't heard about this before, but they are actually the ones who are in charge of the military industrial complex. And the military industrial complex is actually the one who wages war on both sides of the aisle. And they fund and finance both sides in order to bring the world and the perspective of people, the masses, right, into understanding that we need government for safety, that we need this. And all this ties into the financial system. And this is why we have a debt-based system right now. They keep printing all this money out of thin air, devaluing our currency. People don't own gold. People don't own silver. People don't own anything, man. These people don't even know how to use their own brain sometimes. It's it's tragic. It's an awful situation. And this is where we are right now. And this is what I'm saying is like, we're in this transition. Like JB Coach said, many people are going to have to wake up. And if they're not, I promise you, they're going to get left behind. And when I say left behind, they're going to get wiped out, man, whether it's financially. I mean, you can have $1 million in XRP, but if you don't have any water, you're screwed. And also precious metals. Yeah. If the whole system goes down, yeah, sure, Ripple works without internet, but we don't even know if they're going to let us keep it. They might try to force buyback from us. And if they do that, they're going to be giving us worthless dollars before the dollar crashes. You sell your XRP for $100 a coin, let's say, right? You have 70,000 tokens. You make good money right there. Okay. But guess what? Now it's in dollars. Then they crash the dollar. You basically gave away your XRP for nothing. So that's why I keep telling people dollar cost average.
A buyback?
I don't think they can, in my opinion. I've been hearing a lot of talks about a buyback. And guess what? I don't think they're going to be able to force a buyback. I think they'll make the offer of a buyback. Hey guys, we'll buy your XRP for this price, right? Before it actually goes to astronomical levels, but they'll always make an offer, I think, to buy it. That way, some people out there might want to sell it, but I don't think they're going to be able to force it. I don't think so. And this is why I say, have a cold storage hardware wallet. It's so important. Your seed phrase, your keys, your crypto, your XRP, and a lot of people keep, especially these crypto guys, man, they leave all their money in the exchanges and software wallets. Cold storage is the best. Software wallet, I mean, it's not trustworthy, man. I mean, that shit could get wiped out so fast. And I do want to tell you a story. This actually happened about 3 days ago. I have family in Dubai, and my family has a lot of friends, and I grew up with some of these people. Amr and Myrna, they had about 20 something million dollars. I'm not even joking. I used to sail on their yacht when I was in Dubai. I enjoyed myself there as a kid with their children and whatnot. Very wealthy people. We'd have dinner with them. They called my stepfather, who's in Saudi Arabia right now, and they were crying. You know what happened in Lebanon? The whole central bank failed. The Lebanese central banks, they already failed. They collapsed. The whole banking system collapsed in Lebanon. And you'd be surprised how this happened. IMF was definitely involved. They always infiltrate banking systems. They collapse in, and they want you to depend on them to be the lenders. But they lost everything. All the money got wiped out. They were very sad. They were crying. And I heard about this news like 2-3 days ago, and I just sent them my regards. And they were asking my stepfather for help. All their money got wiped out. They had a bail-in. This is going to happen in the US too. And no one's paying attention, man. The bail-in is going to happen. I promise you that. If you watched my last video that I posted, you have the British, one of the UK people in parliament, and he was talking about this. I don't know if you saw it, but it was very important the first 2 minutes. And he dealt with it. And he says, I mean, the central banks are the ones to blame about this, This is not an accident. This is all by design, like you said, planned out a long time ago. And this is where we are now, You have to make the moves, man. You have to get ready because something's going to happen. Something will break. I promise you. And we're at that point because I've been following the central banks very closely. In the last few weeks, my videos have been all about the central banks. Too much is going on, even for myself to keep my eyes on everything. It's too much, man, but I see what they're doing. I see the big picture of things. And if you can see the big picture, you can predict and speculate. And that alone will, I think, give you some sort of protection, how to prepare for such a scenario. I know a lot of information. Sorry about that.
No, it's just there is so much information. I,
You guys, on
I just really can't understand how it really goes down like that, and how you create such panic in such a historically stable country. I'm talking about the UK here because I've lived in Nicaragua, so I know what a country that doesn't have the same stability as the UK is.
Mhm.
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine it hitting the fan in a place like this. And so that's where my brain is going. And I hear lots of people say the people who are in control, the powers that be, but it's how do we know who those people are? Do you know who those people are? Or is it educated guesses?
maybe a little bit of both. I've confirmed a few things. Can't like talk about it here. Maybe off, we can discuss it later on. But yeah, I've confirmed there are a few people, and these are people you might be familiar with already, mainstream news, and I covered them a lot in my videos. They're heavily involved in this, and they are puppets, man. They're working at a higher goal, man. It's just, I'm on a whole nother level.
So
I can't talk everything here, but yeah,
So-
I do. There are people involved in this, and yeah, they have a very sinister agenda. They really do. But here's some good news. Mark Bauer,
Okay.
dear friend of mine now.
Yeah.
And we're a very good guy, very intelligent, informed, amazing history. This guy has, what he's done, what he's been involved in. And he did give me some positive news that I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Nasara Jasara.
please explain it, like.
Well, basically, Nasara Jasara it's a Reformation Act. And basically it's supposed to, I said there were also two factions. I've heard people say that there's theatrics here, but I really don't believe that. I think if there's so much evil out there and badness, there's got to be some good that's working at it. And I've actually confirmed this with Mark too. There is a force of good out there that's fighting for us, for freedom, for decentralization of information and certain things, right? And not seeing this totalitarianism take over. So there is some good news over there. But, basically resetting the global debt, peace, prosperity around the world, a new world order for sure, but much more positive, not like what I've been covering and, a lot of the other people out there covering all sinister stuff. But you really do have two forces fighting. And I'm in the middle to believe that because I researched this stuff so deep. And I really think the biblical talks, and I'm not talking about just the Bible, whether you're Hindu or, Jewish or whatnot, all this stuff really starts to come into this topic real fast, and all the celestial stuff and natural, these phenomenons we hear about, and we can't really confirm it, but a lot of this stuff starts to get involved real fast when we start to talk about Nasara Jasara, and when we start to talk about, these two forces working, one for humanity and one to disarm humanity of their freedoms and liberties. So a lot of stuff is playing out too. Like I said, financial system is just a bit of it, and there's some stuff I could talk to you about, but it can't be on camera for sure, man. We can't have this on YouTube. I'm dead serious.
That's
Yeah.
fine. You had a recent interview with Simon Hunt. I thought it was a really good interview. He's a specialist on China, right?
Yeah, he works very closely with China and the Middle East and Africa too.
He seemed to have an understanding of how XRP, or the new currency, would be backed and how that works. He said it would be based on 20 different commodities, all pegged to gold. Can you share more information, if you have any more information, about actually how that pegging works?
So, no, yeah, in all honesty, I'm not that sure. I'm not qualified to answer like that question because I really don't know how it's going to play out like that, but I can give you the big idea of it. As we talked about the gold standard, there's enough evidence out there that we are going back to a gold standard. But the thing is, see, now we have the technology in the old days when we had gold coins, what people would do is they'd cut a piece off the silver or with the gold, and they'll use it to like get a loaf of bread, right? They'll cut it into pieces, this coin, tiny pieces. And sorry about that. We're doing the same thing now. We have the technology to layer, these commodities. And now let's say if gold is backing XRP, which it will, I know this for a fact. You want to buy a cup of coffee, right? Pay like 0.000 something of a gram of gold, almost like that, less than a piece of that. And that's kind of how it's going to play out like that. But yeah, we're going to have real commodities backing up our currency. That's the only way, right? We can have a neutral ground level playing field in the international marketplace. This is why I keep saying to people is it levels the playing field. Not one currency has leverage over another. And this is what a gold standard had back then. If you want stability, if you want prosperity, if you want to give power back to some of the power back to the people, right? This is how you're going to do it. We have to have a gold standard. Gold standard will keep all governments in check, but this is the problem. Most people don't even know about this stuff. So, as we give back that power, only a few people are going to own it. People like us and a few out there, The wealth transfer is inevitable. It's going to happen. But yeah, it'll definitely be backed by commodities like gold and silver. And right now, what we're seeing is central banks worldwide. And this has been going on for some time, to be honest. But we haven't covered it, They've been loading up on precious metals. They're not just buying it because they're insecure about the financial crisis that they created. We are going back to a gold standard and commodity-based currencies, We are 100%. Bank of International Settlements have confirmed this.
Yeah.
International Monetary Fund, and goes on. Vatican Bank.
Do you know when that reevaluation of precious metals is going to take place?
At this point, I've learned more, and I can't really time it. I don't want to give people false alarms and hopes for things that are not going to play out, but I know it will happen. The thing is, I don't know when. I really don't. But I think before the end of the year, we're going to start to see something break in the system, right? Now, if something breaks in the system, basically that means we're moving faster to this new currency, this new digital currency, and it would have to be backed by something. If we're going to do the switch, it has to be backed by something. And I think this is what they've been doing for so long now. And this is, we're hearing so much about crypto regulation and governments and intervention and all this stuff. And on the sidetrack, we have all this BS with Ethereum and the SEC, but they've put all the regulations and policies in place already. It's already said and done. Like Rosie Rios said, the train has already left the station. Even in 2018, I got a warning about Ripple replacing the whole financial institutions. I think for the longest time, I think they've been putting everything into place. They're just not talking about it.
If you wanted to get the answers, the real legit answers, who would you be going to? Let's say they have like a truth serum and you can inject them with truth serum and they will tell you everything.
Jimmy.
Really?
Next security. Yes, absolutely. From my circle, from who I know, Jimmy. Yeah. One of the people I've been talking to at the Pentagon, he's legit level 23 security clearance, but he, the information he gave me is like the dark side. I don't really want to, I couldn't sleep for days after he unloaded some stuff on me. I really couldn't. It made me think too much.
Don't do this to me.
It's the truth. Yeah.
I won't be able to sleep for like a month.
Yeah, no, it's intense, man. And I swear to God, man, the financial system is just one bit of the thing on the grand scheme of things of what's really playing out. And I actually can prove some of it to you, not all. I do have some documents. I have other projects I've been working on in my own research and stuff. But, Jimmy would be the one I'd go to get real answers because he's in finance. He's an ex-securities lawyer. He's a lawyer. He's very connected. He knows a lot, man. He does. He's just very good at keeping his mouth quiet when he needs to. I've tried to get information from him and he won't answer certain things, and we're friends.
Is that because of the danger that comes as a result of sharing information you shouldn't? Like, there's real danger there, right?
Yeah, I've already been contacted. I know I said they tried to silence me, and it was really just Twitter and YouTube. But it's crazy, man. They were incentivizing me not to talk. In the beginning, they were telling me not to talk about the vaccine, not to talk about COVID. This was like 7 months ago when I kind of started the channel. And then I started getting emails saying, oh, well, now you can talk about this, but then I got stopped about talking about Klaus. I'm not allowed to. They don't want me to talk about him or Biden now. And also Biden passed some weird policies that are, a friend of mine, she sent it to me. I have to put it on my next video or something. But yeah, freedom of speech is slowly being taken away, man. It's crazy. I got a little sidetracked right there.
How close to 1984 do you think this is going to end up? The book.
1984?
The George Orwell book. The book is essentially a look into what he thought the future was going to be like, where it was completely surveilled, very much like you will have nothing, but you will be happy. Anyone who steps out of line based on the agenda that the Big Brother has, you're cancelled or actually murdered in that case. So moving to the whole CBDC world, it's the way the world is going to operate in that book seems very much like the end of the road for where we're headed. I just want your thoughts on that.
In all honesty, man, there's, like I said, a very sinister agenda here. The specifics, we could do that another time, but they are trying to wipe out the middle class and they want to enslave humanity with CBDCs. And let me try to clarify what a CBDC is very short. A lot of people think it's just, it's a digital currency. No, it's a digital coupon. No more money. That's it. And with a CBDC, you cannot save money. That's the big crux here. The issue is that you can't save money. That's not a good thing. It's going to be programmed, and it's not just going to be programmed in this aspect, what you can and cannot buy. It's going to have a time frame on it. And that scares the shit out of me. Think about it like this. You get your money deposited from the treasury or whatnot. I think everyone will have an account directly with the central bank or somebody, like we have the treasury here. And they're, by the way, shifting the power from the Fed to the treasury. Nobody's covering that yet. I'm not even covering it yet, but I just found out about it. You're going to have an account with the treasury. They'll deposit money into your bank account or your account, right? You're going to have a time frame on it. You have to spend it on your rent. You have to spend it on an electric car because it's good for the environment. You have to do this. You have to do that. And if you don't, you get frozen out of society. You really do, because, hey, you're going to try to save your CBDC money for another time to go on this trip, to do this, to do that. No, you won't be able to. It's a very scary thing. It really is. And their excuse is to keep the economy stimulating. So it's always moving, it doesn't die. People are always spending
Never
money.
have a big financial crash again.
That's right. But see, while people think that, oh, look, it's digital money. That's what your average Joe thinks. They have no idea. And this is why, at the end of the day, we could be wrong about a lot of this stuff. But this is why we research. This is why we ask questions. This is why we talk, and have an open mind, by the way. We have to do this because, I care about my freedom, care about my soul. I care about everything that I am. I don't want to lose any of it. And I already lost so much already, it's insane, man. It's like nobody's paying attention to this. And I'm telling you, if you earn these technologies that are going to make this one world bank possible, you're probably going to be better off. That's like really the big picture, by owning the technologies that will help banks, central banks adopt CBDC technology for the people who will get wiped out because they weren't prepared or something like that. Your dollars are going to go to zero. People don't know this. Look back to my friends and our family friends in, Dubai. They lost everything. They had their money in Lebanon. They lost everything overnight. This can happen here in the States, and it will happen. There will be either a cyber attack, some black swan event is going to occur where people's money is going to get wiped out, and they're going to need a CBDC. This is what the CBDC is designed for. It's for the financial crisis that hasn't arrived yet. It's about to. So if you own Ripple and make this central bank a real reality, and it's backed by gold, think about where it's going to put you from everybody else.
Puts you in a better position, but
better position. That's right.
To me, in that scenario, though, I cannot get my head around the fact that could happen. That's just personally, but I haven't digged as much as you have. So that's one thing. If you're looking at a system where you have to spend a certain amount of money over a certain period of time, actually being rich in that new world, all that really means more money to spend in the same amount of time. So it's actually probably more of a headache.
It could be,
Obviously,
so that's the thing.
Financial position and everyone else, you have access to things. It's still not a great situation. So maybe we talk about that, the good side of this bad situation. How does a person operate in the way that rich people operate now in that environment? There are different rules for those people.
I think there will. I've been told, now I can't confirm what he said, but I've been told that you will be monitored closely, but you can live outside the scope of the system. The CBDCs are the ones with the programmable time frame on it. It's not really those who own XRP and whatnot. When you own XRP, at some point, you actually become your own bank in a sense. That's what people also haven't wrapped their heads around, is that you really do become your own bank. You'll be the lender. This really puts you in a completely different position. Something, most people would never think that could be possible. But yeah, if XRP is going to be, which it is, the neutral bridge asset for all currencies and money and value, information and value to flow through it, you can't really put a time frame on XRP, even if it's backed by gold. It's really the time frame. If you read this in the articles, even by Rishi Sunak, he's the one who's a huge advocate for CBDC adoption. If you read the articles that he's published in the past, around like 2000, I think it was like 2021, something like that, 2020, it was shortly after the pandemic. You could see that he specifically talks about this programmable currency and time frame on it, but it's the CBDCs, not so much for the actual technology that's making these CBDCs a reality. It's just the CBDCs have to, if they're going to have CBDC adoption, they need to adopt XRP and Ripple. And already central banks have done that because they're going to need the liquidity to issue these CBDCs. Now, how a CBDC is programmed, that's a whole different subject.
Yes, of course. With these shoulders that you have rubbed with, that's not the right way to put it, but with all the people that you've been talking to, the insider knowledge that you have, what kind of figures are these people throwing out as what XRP needs to be, and how have they come to those conclusions?
All right. This is a very good question, by the way. You've seen our interview with Jimmy Valley. Man, I wish our camera was better. He said 50, right? Off camera, I was told a much higher price. Just didn't want to scare people because people wouldn't believe it. A lot of people I do rub shoulders with, and these are close friends now, and they've become close friends over the last few months. Very high price. Very high price. And the reason also is because I posted a good tweet the other day. I don't think it got retweeted that much when it should have, but I was talking about if XRP is going to replace the financial systems, right, in place, and it will, the price has to be very high because there's not enough coins to supply that, for that demand, the global demand. So it has to be really high. And that's really the easiest way to put it because it's true. The price will have to be high, and they have to be reevaluated for all the damn debt we have. It's not just going to go away, resetting the system. I mean, they keep money and raising the debt, man. The higher the debt is, the higher the price of XRP has to be. And I don't think people can comprehend that, but it's true.
There was one thing that I started to understand in the last few days, because I had a conversation with someone who emailed me with a formula to create the price prediction for XRP. It's not that the formula was anything special, because lots of formulas have been made, but there was a light bulb moment in me where I realized if all of these institutions are going to need to hold XRP, and there's only 50 billion remaining, but the European Central Bank has a reach of about 50,000 institutions, and they all need some XRP. You're going to have institutions, banks owning XRP, and that's going to manage all the money that's flowing through it. And if you're transacting billions of dollars a day for some of these smaller banks, and you've only got 100 XRP, the price has to be massive. David Schwartz said it can't be dirt cheap. I know people say it. I've said it, but I didn't understand it until the last few days. So I'm glad you brought that up as well.
Like I said, I think I talked to you about this on the phone, is that even in the XRP community, which is very small, by the way, I would say about 10% understand the real picture here. And a lot of people just got lucky. They heard about it. They don't know what they're doing in it. They're just
I think
holding
it's less. I think it's less than 10%.
I would agree with you. I was trying to be generous, but
yeah, kind to the audience.
I was trying to be generous. I am. I think it's less than that too. I can agree with you on that. Majority of the masses, in the XRP community, I've watched their tweets. I've seen their videos. They just keep talking about hold, hodl, moon. That's not important. Get people to understand the utility of it and why the price has to be high so other people can be saved. I think that's the more important message there. Trying to explain how this is going to work out and how it's going to play out. And maybe other people will understand and they'll start to say, you know what, maybe I should buy this asset. Maybe I should look into this, but the price will have to be extremely high. I've been told it is going to shock the world. It's just going to happen. People are not going to believe it.
When you look at the top 10 on Forbes list, it's going to be Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz. It's going to be just a Ripple roster at the top 20 richest people in the world. It's going to be, it's going to be more wealth than we've ever seen individuals.
You're right. Here's something I would like to quote. A dear friend of mine shared this with me. He's in politics, and he said, and I'm trying to quote this without messing it up. Okay. That the XRP price, it's literally just going to do a big jump. And he thinks that this is going to happen overnight, the minute we start to see utility. What he said is that the price of XRP overnight would shoot up like this and be unaffordable overnight. That's what he told me. And I can see that being a reality because it all goes back to the utility of it. All the central banks have already adopted Ripple, but they haven't flipped the switch yet. When they flip that switch, the value starts flowing, and that value alone will run the price up fast as hell, man. People won't be able to get in. There will be so much volume too. I think people will be selling, actually. But yeah, the price is going to just skyrocket, and it's because the utility behind it is there. The value now is being used.
Leads me to believe that as utility rolls out, it won't be gradual increases. It will be an appropriate increase according to the volume of transactions that are now being transacted on that ledger.
Right.
So you have Bank of England turn on. I don't know how much they do a day. Let's say they do 500 million a day. Then the XRP price, if just Bank of England goes on that day, goes up the appropriate amount. Like it just goes up. It has to go instantaneously from one price to another because you need those guarantees for fees. You need guarantees for everyone else in the ecosystem using the technology to have their pre-agreed terms match volume and stuff. Just has to go like that. And so when you have dates like November the 21st, where Swift was supposed to go live, but it kind of is, but they're saying March anyway, that's a whole different thing. You'll get waves of adoption as people start to flip their own switches. I don't think you'll go from where we are today to 50,000, but I do believe it gets there. It will just look something like this: up, absolutely flat, up, absolutely flat. Anytime that you come up in price, the shakeout begins, everyone starts selling. They sell into fiat and they don't realize what's actually happening. And they're converting into the weaker asset and they lose all their power. They probably buy a Lambo. That's part of the shakeout as well that the government want. They know that money is coming back into the economy because the people who are selling are the people who buy Lambos. And it'll be a very small portion of people that are left at the end actually taking on all of that wealth purely because they understood the utility and they stayed strong with their holdings. It's a very small percentage of people, in my opinion, very small, under 1%, easily under 1%.
Well, real quick, let's try to fix that then real quick. You have a lot of viewers and that's wonderful, Mary. We can get the message out there, but what I know for a fact is that when the utility of XRP is at full, throttle, and we're seeing this adoption worldwide, which is actually playing out right now as we speak. We're not there yet, but it's happening. All right. The adoption has already taken place. When XRP is at full scale utility, you'll never have to sell one XRP token to maintain your lifestyle. You won't have to sell one XRP token. When at that point, you're going to have regulation. And when there's regulation, you could stake it later on, lend it. You could be a lender. This is what people don't understand is you can be a lender with XRP at such a high value price. And the interest alone is going to pay you generational wealth on a few tokens.
My audience is uniquely positioned, I believe, because the majority of what I talk about is the idea that do not sell. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with your money. It's not financial advice, but I'm not selling. And because I'm not selling, because my crypto is going to be, some of it's going to be in custody of these institutions who are going to utilize staking protocols to give me an interest yield. There may be some of it that I'm going to borrow against, collateralize, and I'm going to pay that back with the interest that I've yielded from staking. So my life is paid for using any of my XRP without selling a single token. And so
that's right.
While that is not common knowledge and not the normal thought process, my community is unique in that they're switched on to that process. And I just hope that when we get to $100, $1,000 XRP, that they still understand that, because emotions can be a real dampener to the party there.
I love the way you described it right there, because you're absolutely right. That's how it's going to play out. We're not there yet. The real problem right now, and this is for most middle-class people, right, including myself, is that we need to make sure that we are able to fight the storm first. And that's what's really going to wipe people out is the inflation. This why my last few videos have been about the central banks. Believe me, I love talking about crypto and XRP, but I'm focused more on the central banks because it's the central banks who are going to wipe out the middle class who are trying to hold XRP, people like us, right? So that's why I keep focusing on it. You have to have yourself positioned, have some XRP, have some gold, have some silver, have some this, have water, have food, because I'm telling you, it's going to get rough. Own weapons too. Here, I have a lot of weapons. I love weapons. I don't want to use them, but I have the weapons because when it gets bad, I'm going to have to defend myself and what I've invested in, my stuff, sadly. But it's going to get ugly like that, and especially in the States, man. I mean, we have some of the dumbest people. We don't even have a White House anymore. We have a nut house,
Yeah.
It's just, we are the worst positioned in the whole world. I think the US is. Just because we have a strong dollar, that doesn't mean shit. The strong dollar is only strong right now is because other currencies are failing worldwide, and that alone is going to strengthen the dollar because it's still the reserve currency, right? But at some point, this is all going to implode on itself. And when it does, it's going to wipe out the financial landscape, your bank accounts, everything that you've ever known, and your way of financial stability is going to be gone. And this is why it's so important to have yourself hedged in these ways. You know, it's like too much, but it's going to play out like that.
Let's move away from the craziness that's about to come. And this is going to be my final question.
Sure.
What's the best piece of news you've heard in the last few months?
Oh, man, it's a good one. I actually got some amazing news yesterday, but I can't talk about that.
Okay, well, let's get some second tier good news then. Because with all the bad news that there is, and you said there's bad forces, there has to be good forces. Apart from us being able to live slightly above everyone else after this thing happens, being in the right assets, what else is good about that? What else is good that's coming?
Let me step back for a second. In my personal opinion, the faster this crash happens, I mean, the faster the system breaks down, the faster we can get to where we want to be. So that's bad news, but it's kind of good. So sadly, bad news is good news for me. It's truth. Yeah. Yeah. The more the bad news is, I'm like, okay, we're getting close, you know? But I think later on in the future, when we have our XRP and, you know, things are stable, and hopefully Nasara Chisara plays out too, I think you'll be able to do amazing things. And I'm talking about helping the world. You know, me personally, I'm a botanist. I don't know if I shared that with you. I love botany, love plants. I have a greenhouse in my bedroom. I want to open vertical farms in the Middle East and in Europe, and I want to help feed people. I really do. So I see a lot of positive things later on down the road. We're not there yet, but I mean, you know, yeah, there's going to be some good things you could do with that kind of power later on, you know. Well, a lot of people think that like, hey, these guys are crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. But no, everything we've covered here so far is happening. It's going to happen. And I promise you, this stuff is going to play out very soon. So, you know, here we are doing all the research, and I hope out there people will listen, and I hope they'll learn something from this and maybe learn to do their own research into what is an opportunity right before them, because I'm telling you, this is the last opportunity people are going to get. This is a wealth transfer. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. People don't need to blow it. You know, they should really get on board with this stuff real fast and quickly get up to speed with what's happening. I think the good news really is people like you and I and a few others out there, you know, JB Coach and a lot of the other people out there who are talking about this stuff, really trying to get more people involved. And, you know, I think that's the best news, man, is, you know, trying to wake people up because people are still sleeping.
Well, Versan, it's been a pleasure to finally talk to you over a video, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many.
I hope so. Yeah.
No problem with having you on as much as possible. I look forward to continuing the conversations in WhatsApp as well, and hearing some extra juicy stuff that you couldn't say here. But
yeah, I get
who hasn't watched Black Swan Capitalist on YouTube, the link is in the description below. Everyone, please go over and check it out. It's some of the best produced content with obviously the silky smooth narration with such deep insight and understanding. I really, truly think everyone should be subscribed to Black Swan Capitalist, and obviously the link is in the description below. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, man. All right. Hope to see you soon, man.